Chapter 25 Extraordinary Choice. Late one night in Medina, the Prophet told a servant of his to saddle his mule. Surrounded by the calm of night, his mule clip-clopped through the roads of Medina toward the graveyard. The Prophet had been ordered by Allah to pray for the Muslims who had passed away. He stood by their graves praying, asking for their forgiveness. The Prophet said to the servant, "I can choose between all the riches of this world, a long life, and then paradise, or meeting my Lord and entering paradise now." The servant pleaded with him to choose the former. The Prophet conveyed that he had made his choice. The next morning, his wife Aisha and the Prophet both woke up with headaches. He still went forward with leading the prayer at the mosque. The Prophet addressed the Muslims, and some understood that his death may be close at hand. The Prophet said that they would all meet in the afterlife at a pool in paradise. While he was visiting each of his wives that day, his illness worsened. He requested to be moved to his wife Aisha's home. Days passed by, and the Prophet developed a fever. To bring his temperature down, he asked his kin to help him with a cold bath. The Prophet said, "Pour on me 7 containers of water gathered from several wells." They situated him in a tub which was owned by Hafsa, another one of his wives. Water was poured on him until he signaled them to stop. The Prophet got dressed, and when his temperature had moderated, his cousin helped him to walk to the mosque. As he sat, the people came to him. The Prophet said, "I praise Allah, the one other than whom there is no deity. If I have ever beaten any of you on his back, let him come and avenge himself by beating me on my back. If I ever abused anyone, let him come and abuse me. The one of you who is dearest to me is the one who has a right against me and claims it. By so doing, he releases me, and I will be able to meet Allah with nothing held against me by any person." The Prophet mostly tried to stay inside as his health declined. In a rare instance, when he felt a bit better, he returned to the mosque, where Abu Bakr and the other Muslims were. The Prophet said to them, "The one who has done me the greatest favor out of his wealth is Abu Bakr. Were I to choose a friend, I would have chosen Abu Bakr. However, I opt for a relationship of brotherhood in Islam with him until Allah unites us all with him." Abu Bakr had tears in his eyes. The Prophet ordered that all doors that opened from Muslims' houses to the mosque be shut except for Abu Bakr's, which was a clear indication of the coming succession in leadership within the community. Returning home, when the Prophet was laying down, his daughter Fatima saw how much he was suffering. She exclaimed, "How distressed my father is!" Having buried 5 out of his 6 children after they passed away during his lifetime, the Prophet responded to his sole surviving daughter, "Your father will have no distress." At that time, the Muslim army was being amassed for a battle with the superpower, the Byzantine Empire. The forces held off on leaving Medina due to the Prophet's condition. The young commander of the Muslim army, along with a few soldiers, visited the Prophet. He was too sick to talk at that moment, but raised his hand up, put it on the young commander, and prayed. The Prophet had still been leading the 5 daily prayers. One day he did not feel well enough to lead the Muslims in prayer and requested that Abu Bakr should do so. Aisha objected to her father doing so. "Abu Bakr is a soft man. When he stands in your position, he may feel it too hard on him." The Prophet reiterated, "Tell Abu Bakr to lead the prayers." Aisha repeated her disagreement, and the Prophet became displeased with her. He responded to his wife, "Let Abu Bakr lead the prayers." Shortly after, Abu Bakr did in fact lead the prayers at the mosque. In his final days, the Prophet said, "I suffer as much as 2 of you put together." While on his bed in much pain, he advised, "Attend to prayers, attend to prayers. Do not charge those whom your right hands possess with what they cannot bear. Fear Allah in your treatment of women." Then one morning at dawn, the Prophet gathered his energy to go to the mosque. He smiled as he heard Abu Bakr leading the prayer. Abu Bakr noticed that the Prophet was present and wanted to step back to allow Allah's messenger to lead. The Prophet, who was looking amazingly radiant that day, signaled for Abu Bakr to continue with the prayer though. Due to his condition, the Prophet sat next to Abu Bakr, who recited from the Quran. Shortly thereafter, the Prophet returned to Aisha's home, and he laid his head on her lap. He asked for a plant-based toothbrush and cleaned his teeth. The Prophet put it down. Aisha said, I felt his head getting heavier in my lap. I looked at his face and noticed that his eyes were staring hard. The Prophet spoke his last words softly, the highest company in heaven. Aisha stated, by him who has sent you with the truth, you have been given a choice and you have made your choice. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, passed away. Upon learning the news, the Muslims were beyond grief-stricken. Many could not fathom what had just happened. Despite how loyal he had been to the Prophet, and despite being destined for great things, Omar was so stunned that he said out of character, Allah's messenger has not died. I swear Allah's messenger shall return. Abu Bakr arrived as Omar was making these remarks. He went to Aisha's home and saw the late Prophet dressed in a Yemeni robe. Abu Bakr uncovered the Prophet's face and kissed him, saying, My father and my mother may be sacrificed for your sake. The one death that Allah has decreed that you shall experience, you have now had. You shall never die again. Abu Bakr came back outside and saw that Umar was still in a state of shock, speaking to the people. Abu Bakr drew the Muslims' attention by saying, Listen to me, people. If any of you has been worshipping Muhammad, let him know that Muhammad is dead. He who worships Allah knows that Allah is always alive. He never dies. Abu Bakr then recited verses from the Quran that had been revealed after the Battle of Uhud. Muhammad is no more than a messenger. Many were the messengers that passed away before him. If he died or were slain, will you then turn back on your heels? If any did turn back on his heels, not the least harm will he do to Allah. But Allah, on the other hand, will swiftly reward those who serve him with gratitude. Nor can a soul die except by Allah's leave, the term being fixed as by writing. If any do desire reward in this life, we shall give it to him. And if any do desire a reward in the hereafter, we shall give it to him. And swiftly shall we reward those that serve us with gratitude. Some of the Prophet's close relatives washed and dressed his body before the funeral prayer. Different suggestions were made about where to bury him. However, the Prophet had guided Abu Bakr in this matter before he passed away. Abu Bakr affirmed, every Prophet was buried in the place where he died. Many Muslims came to offer the funeral prayer. They took turns since Aisha's home where the Prophet would be buried was not big enough to accommodate everyone at once. First the men prayed, then the women entered in groups, lastly the children came in. After the funeral prayers, the Prophet was buried. May Allah's peace, blessings, and mercy be upon the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him.